Pirates and raiding. Those are our topics for today here in this Imperator Rome tutorial that is a continuation of a playlist that you can find in the description below if you're looking how to play this game. But jumping right into it, pirates. What are pirates in this game? Pirates are random, navies that settle out of a single port. No, they do not need permission necessarily to settle out of a port, and they go around raiding ports that are undefended. They inflict debuffs onto said port by raiding it and then use their gains to essentially buff up their fleet. Pirates can be hired from the naval tab in mercenaries, where you can see all these fleets here that can be hired as mercenaries. These are pirates. You can pay them to serve you. It's good if you don't have a navy or if you just need some extra ships. They usually have the worst ships, but what do you expect? They're pirates. If you're going to recruit pirates, it looks just like any other mercenary. You have a base cost and money you have to pay them every month to maintain them. This is affected by certain technologies and decisions that you have made. You can find pirates on the map. Right now, we don't necessarily see any pirates anywhere. Oh, never mind, we do right here. So there's two fleets here. A friendly fleet, this is blue, and this is just a normal fleet. This is a pirate right here. This is just kind of like a barbarian symbol in general. We have 15 pirate ships here, and he sees pirates. And I'm sure if we went looking down this list, we could eventually find him as well. Yep, here he is, the first one with 15, Anichi's pirates, and we could recruit him. If I recruited him, those pirates would join me. When they're not recruited, like I mentioned, they'll go around finding ports that are undefended. Now, what is an undefended port? Is this port defended? Yes, it is. However, maybe not for the reason that you think. It's not because there's ships here to defend it. If you have the biggest fleet in the entire game and a couple of pirate ships come along, your fleet will do absolutely nothing automatically in order to stop them. It's this that defends it. Having a fortress in a territory that has a port is how you defend it. You cannot raid a port that has a fortress. With most forms of raiding, we'll talk about that in a bit. We're just talking about pirate raids right now. The pirates cannot raid this, and thus it is protected. If you wanted the benefit of ports, which you can find more in my tutorial on buildings, you can find it there. But if you have locations that have cities, for example, but no forts, or they don't even need cities, they could just be normal settlements. And if they have a port, those can be raided by pirates. This will inflict debuffs on the port. This is one of 3 different types of raids. The other 2 types of raids are going to be slave raids and port raids. Port raids are simpler to talk about, so let's talk about that right now. It's referred to, when you hover over the button right here, as a port assault. For this, you need one of the heaviest ships in the entire game at near max health, and you go up to an enemy port that has a fort, and it will reduce, after you do this raid, the fort level of that region by 1. This is a later game thing because it requires a very heavy fleet to even do. This is a good way to make a naval invasion, or just invading something that's along the coast and fortified and has a port, easier, but only for really high level naval powers. You need to go into your traditions, the military traditions, just to unlock ships like this. And I believe we can find them probably under Greek Polaris. No, it's Greek Kingdoms right here. You have one that unlocks the first heavy ship and another that unlocks the heaviest heavy ship. So you can find, for example, Greeks are not the only ones that get this. The Megapolareme, you need this to do a port assault, a port raid. But also under Greek Polaris, not Polaris, you can find slave raids. They're not the only ones that get this again, but Greeks are good to look at because they get both. And once you unlock slave raids from the victor spoils from, for example, the Greek Polaris traditions, you unlock the ability to slave raid. You do get a bonus to enslavement efficiency. This is just a bonus to slaves that you take when you're doing normal campaigning, fighting, conquest. But with a slave raid, the way that works is you take a fleet. It doesn't need a super heavy ship or anything. You go to, say, a coastal region, and then every single port that's there and not fortified, once you click a button that will appear around here, you will be able to slave raid these ports, taking 1 slave from every port that's undefended. You will gain aggressive expansion just for doing that. One aggressive expansion plus some more for every slave that you take. It is a pretty decent way to generate aggressive expansion, which is not that great of a thing to have. But if you're not at war, this is a way to bolster your population simply by going around and raiding ports along coasts that are undefended. Putting those slaves, they will teleport right to your capital. You can move them around as you please, or they'll do it by themselves eventually, if they don't die first from overflowing the capital. This is a good way to assist playing quote-unquote tall, not expanding a lot and just building up what you already have. Additionally, slave raids inflict penalties onto every port that you raid, and you could go down a coast and within a few months in game raid dozens of ports, inflicting penalties onto roughly half of them. It doesn't get inflicted onto every port that you raid, but onto a good amount of them. To summarize, pirate raids are unique and are done automatically by pirate stacks that roam the waters. These pirate stacks can also be hired to serve you the same as land mercenaries in war or even in peacetime if you need them for anything, such as slave raiding. Slave raiding inflicts a different debuff that is actually more damaging than a pirate raid is to a location. And then naval raids, naval assaults, are just to defended ports. So to destroy forts defending the ports, thus opening them for raiding or easier conquest via land. You must be at war to do a naval raid. You do not need to be at war to do a slave raid, and pirates can raid you pretty much no matter what, so long as you have not defended a coastal territory that has a port with a fort. There is a law regarding pirates. It'll be different depending on what country you're playing. We're playing as Rome, but there is a law such as Lex Claudia here, which gives you an anti-piracy casus belli and allows you to dig up pirate havens whenever you want. Now, what is a pirate haven? A pirate haven, you could see as a status buff here, is something that gives you a tax bonus pop growth, but also puts a pirate naval base there. At the start of the game, these will be in places, and they will spread normally without anybody's permission until the end of the game, unless they're torn up. Sometimes you might get events that allow you to tear them up without actually needing to prompt it. And those are pretty handy if you want to get rid of pirates. Now you see, there's a lot of buffs to having a pirate haven here. Because of that, there isn't just something that allows you to tear up those pirate havens with land forces, by the way. Once you have this, you need land forces in the territory to actually tear it up. It's one of those little button presses, just like the naval raiding is. But there's also the ability to boost your import value here. For example, this is just an example of one. Some of them work differently, like boosting export value. This will place a pirate haven in any one of your port territories, thus giving you an automatic random pirate haven and making it easier for pirate havens to spawn in your country in general. They will spread organically if you're not tearing them up. So this leads to 3 different play styles around pirates. Simply ignoring them with a different maritime law, for example, actively tearing them up and gaining the anti-piracy casus belli, or benefiting from them countrywide as well as territory-wide by encouraging them to be in your territory. Now, encouraging them to be in your territory is definitely something that could work out for you if you are defending your ports. Otherwise, your ports are just as open for raiding as anybody else's, and yours are closer. However, you'll have to be careful, because if you ever encounter pirates in the open seas for any region, you will get into a naval fight with them. There's no pirates trying to avoid you or anything. If you are here and they are here, you will fight no matter what. Doesn't matter if you can definitely destroy them or they will definitely destroy you. It will happen. You will capture some of their ships if you win. You will lose ships if you lose, and they can get in the way. Now, the anti-piracy casus belli, which is worth discussing because it's very fucking confusing and not explained anywhere. As you see that there's no way to pull up another tooltip related to it, I will explain this for you. When you get something like Lex Claudia, which allows you to have an anti-piracy casus belli, what this means is you are now justified to declare war on any nation because they border you, for example, and are hosting a pirate haven. Now, how do you know who has a pirate haven? Well, there's two ways that I like to use, other than just looking for the fucking pirates. Well, I guess I could also say you could look right here, just see where they're located by going to where they're located when you hire them. But you might want more of a map view. My preferred way is to open up the diplomacy map mode, and you see this little thing right here, Pirate Haven, this little pirate skull and bone flag. This is going to tell you, hey, there's a pirate haven there, and you can get an idea around you. Separate to that is the Barbarian Power Map mode, which provides you the exact same information, but instead of also showing you your relations with nations, you could just see where barbarians are located as well. It retains that information in case you want to see it. Once you learn who has a pirate haven that you want to attack, we don't have that ability right now, but you don't technically need it in order to view the war goals. So right now we are looking at declaring war against the Etruscans here. You see, we have show naval superiority and show superiority. This is because we do not have any justifications. Now, here's where the anti-piracy casus belli becomes confusing. Anti-piracy casus belli is not its own option here. You see how right now it says war without a casus belli. We don't have a casus belli, despite the fact that we're picking show superiority. So it's debuffing us, because show superiority is not actually a justification. This is just a default war reason when you don't have any others. The truce here is irrelevant. It's just how this starts out with Rome, stop you from declaring war immediately due to historical wars that happened anyway. Now, if we had an anti-piracy casus belli, this would disappear. Wouldn't pop up, but it would allow us to declare war with show superiority without taking a debuff. I don't know why they did it like this. It's really confusing, and I haven't met one person ever, nor have I read one person playing this game, posting about this game, who understood how this worked. I just figured this out by myself, like 2 playthroughs ago or something. You'll be fighting a show superiority goal, which is mainly done through battles, but you will not suffer any debuffs because it's justified by the fact that they have pirates. This is a weird kind of war, because it's not a war to conquer anything. You don't get war score for capturing anything, only from battles. And then as you see, it says when you get 10 war score from battles, you get a ticking war score. That's accumulating 10 positive war score on either side to get that ticking war score. This is not like going over fighting a location, and then if you have the location, you get a ticking war score from owning the objective. If you don't have it, you lose war score from not having it. It doesn't work like that. It only counts really in a big amount from battles. If your goal is to just simply get rid of the pirate havens on the map, you could easily declare a war of superiority, send an army over to a pirate haven, tear it up, win some cheap war, and then leave because that was your only goal. This is what Rome did in real life. They kind of conquered the Mediterranean, tore everything up, fortified every port, and made piracy illegal. You could do that if you want. However, it's also not exactly disadvantageous to have the ability to just declare war on your neighbors, even without any claims, just because they have pirates. That could definitely be a good reason to get a war going. And with that, I have taught you everything I can think of to teach you regarding pirates, how they work, how you can interact with them through laws and other means, and how all the different raid types work, what they affect, and what you need to do them. I hope that this guide was helpful to you and it answered the questions that you came in having. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If I have an answer for you, I will answer it there, and if it's a big enough question, I will potentially look into making a guide on your question as well. For now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on another video.